Hello and welcome to a new podcast on my side channel, the monthly Manga Dorf-scussion. I am the host, Craftsdwarf. Here with me is my co-host, Nunmanji, who will be joining us for every episode he can make it to at least. He's also the editor. Go and say hi, Nunmanji. Or MG Dragon, rather.
What's up? I'm Bootleg Math Whiz. I'm the new Math Whiz. I will be replacing him forever. No more.
After you kill him in one-on-one combat. No more Nensho. Oh, no. This is the new Nensho. Even though I'll explain what this podcast is in a bit in case you didn't see the Discord video. That's fine. Maybe you saw Kingdom and were like, hey, Kingdom, cool. That's fine. To explain how the podcast works, basically, this is kind of an exception for reasons which I won't explain. But we're going to be reading Kingdom in chunks. Normally we won't do that. Normally we'll read a whole manga that's less than 15 volumes. But every episode we will have 3 guests from my Discord server, which you can join, linked in the description. If you catch up to the reading, maybe you can join in on the next episode. They'll be monthly, thus the title. So we have our 3 guests here today. We have Francie.
Hi, I'm Fran the Fran.
Don't do that.
Okay.
No, seriously, this is not What the What, even though there is a similarity.
What the What is here in spirit.
Especially when you purposely try to sound like him.
I'll try my best not to be What the What, alright?
Well, I mean, it's impossible. We are all What the What.
That's true. That's true. We also murdered you.
There is also...
Try not to scare Craftsdwarf too much.
It's kind of weird, okay? There's also Winchester.
Hello.
Yep, that's Winchester. And then there's Pablo.
Howdy.
Yes. So, yeah, I think I just already explained the podcast. So, I guess to start us off, we'll probably do this every time, at least with the new guests. What are your overall thoughts on this stretch of Kingdom chapters 1 through 107? And if you have any history with Kingdom, I'm curious. So I guess to start, I haven't never read Kingdom before, but I've been interested in it because it's really well liked. And I thought the stretch of chapters was good. It got more enjoyable as I read more, and I'm curious as to see if that arc of hype will increase as I continue to read. I'm hoping so. So yeah, whoever wants to go next can go next.
I'll go next. So, okay. Hi, I'm Francie, and so far, I mean, I've already read ahead until chapter 400 something.
Have you read before I said I was going to do the podcast?
I started reading it once you said there was going to be a podcast about it. But the beginning chapters are quite a nice setup to sort of show how Shin is sort of just starts off at the bottom and slowly through grit and stuff he manages to prove himself to an extent, and sort of it's a great opening to coming of age /
coming of general? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
All right. Nunmanji?
I really like the beginning of Kingdom. One thing I noticed was was Hyo, I think his Japanese name. He actually wasn't a character that existed in history. He was someone that the author put in. So I thought it was interesting that he decided to make that change. Kind of like it because he was there to show how Shin is someone who always
you're chopping up
always
a bit.
gets better.
You're basically, so you said that he
has so much potential, and they were. Yeah, and I like that change because, well, not change, but the addition, because the point is that Shin has so much potential, and he always gets better. Like they say, I forget exactly what they say. Like there's something that they say, but
no, don't worry about it.
I'm losing my thought.
Well, we might come around it again later when we get to that part of the discussion. So
yeah.
Shall I go next?
You may go ahead, Winchester.
Yeah, I started it a few months ago. And I liked it. So this is so I've just read the 107 chapters again. So, but I haven't actually read it any more deeply. So I don't know anything much about it. So okay.
Cool.
All right.
Pablo, yeah, go ahead.
All right, so my history with Kingdom is kind of funny, actually. For the longest time, I knew about it because of the anime. But I never actually saw the anime. All I did was listen to the first opening constantly, nonstop, because I think it's amazing.
Okay, cool. I've never seen it either. All I know it's CG, and it's probably not very good.
Yeah, that's why I never watched it. But I thought I always liked the song for the opening, so I'd always listen to it. And every now and then, I literally memorized the visuals of the opening. So when reading it, I got to like see, oh, hey, it's that character. I remember him from the opening. But I've always been interested in Kingdom and actually bothering to read it. But I didn't really, I don't know, I just never got around to it. And until recently, when you told the whole podcast thing, I'm like, might as well start now. So I got into it. It was a surprisingly quick read. I was which I'm a pretty slow reader, and I was kind of surprised to how quickly I flew through the pages.
Okay.
The backgrounds kind of reminded me of like a mixture of like Blade of the Immortal and Vagabondish, with like kind of that wispy feel, kind of historical sense, which already caught me. And I thoroughly enjoyed Hara's, which is the author, his character designs. Something about them, they kind of reminded me of Oda's, where they're kind of exaggerated and rounded.
Some of them, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and also also how he kind of exaggerates the facial features. Also kind of reminded me of Oda a little bit. And I don't know. I thought the early chapters were good. Didn't get much of an emotional response from me, but as the series went on, I definitely began to enjoy it a lot more. And I was especially surprised by the comedy actually being funny, because the last thing I expected from Kingdom was to actually have enjoyable comedy that I would enjoy. So that was something.
Cool.
And I guess that's everything.
All right, we're done. No, we're not done.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Well, I'm off to masturbate.
All right. Okay, so I guess now that we've given our overall thoughts, in case, I will say that if you want to join the podcast, I prioritize people who haven't been on before. So if you want to catch up to the reading, you are free to do so next time. Let me actually check and see how far you have to have read for next time.
It was 107 to 214, somewhere along those lines.
That sounds about right given the amount, but let me just double check. 243. So 108 to 243 is next discussion. So, yeah, and you have a month to do it. So which is probably like 1 or 2 volumes a day. Which isn't too bad, at least for me. I'm a fast reader though, so.
So I feel bad for those who can't read.
Yeah, I'm a pretty slow reader, and it took me I remember it took, in the first month I got to chapter 60, and then the rest of the series it took me the other half of August just to finish. And I only got finished with the series or caught up to where we were supposed to 3 weeks ago.
Sad manga hours.
Yeah, I think I finished it in a few days, a week ago or so. But so anyway, getting into
I made a mistake
spoilers
and read,
if you haven't. read it yet and are interested. If not, that's fine. Starting off, opening arc. You got Shin, you got Hyo. Hyo fucking died. I kind of didn't see that one coming. I was like, oh hey, rival guy. Oh no.
That sad China hours.
What's funny is about Hyo is that from the opening I visually remembered him, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's him. I'm guessing he's gonna be, the secondary main character. And then when I saw him die, I'm like, oh, then who's that other guy in the opening?
Right, who is that? that's got. Of course, it was a different character, but it's like, yeah, I could see the confusion because they're supposed to look the same. So.
I might have got double vision, but I didn't start drinking yet. I got very confused at some point. Anyway, so who wants to start? Okay, I'll start.
Go ahead.
So first arc.
Do we have to go like in order? Or?
Sure, we'll just talk about anything we have to say about the first arc, and then we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah. So the power scaling in this was quite nice, I find.
Power scaling? I heard it's an intrinsic part of the narrative, but go on.
Anyway, seriously though, you could... While the beginning part is really great, I'm set. Like, the part where Piao dies actually got me a bit sad to some extent, but that was really nice, getting me invested into a character, then killing them off in the same chapter they're introduced. And
yeah, that's pretty good, yeah.
And still making me sad. Hats off to him. Secondly, a bit of a thing, like a minor problem to me, is that he managed to kill the assassin that ended up killing Piao, despite the fact that they should have been at around the same level of skill of some sort, since they had an ungodly amount of duels together and they had the exact same amount of wins and losses as each other.
Right. But then they addressed it with
yeah.
So that was nice.
Yes, that was nice. And as for the entire arc as a whole, sort of Seikyu's rebellion of it, it kind of shows that Sei, or the king, I'm using
Sei, yeah.
Sei, yes.
Well, you were using Hyo's Chinese name, and I was like, okay, sure, go for it. I knew who you were talking about, so...
Yeah, I should probably clear that up.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, I don't know for sure like how alternate name translations are weird, because Fairy Tail had alternate names too from the fan translators, but then they adopted the official ones. And then there's like the Japanese and the Chinese. I only had Chinese names for like a volume and a half or volume or two.
Yeah, then it switched to the Japanese.
Back to the Japanese. It started in Japanese for like the first chapter, then it was Chinese for a little bit. So
back to what I was saying. It's showing that Issei isn't just some king who's been coddled his whole life. He somehow manages to gain the favor of the mountain people, and remembering the fact that they had built a shrine to them over 300 years ago, and managing to use that to go back to being king, sort of making it look like Sei isn't just going to be some ruler who doesn't really know anything, and that's great beginning to see that.
But yeah, I like the setup. I like, getting Shin's cool. He's the kind of character I like, the hot-headed leader guy with a big goal who goes towards, emotions and goes towards his goals. And he's good. He's cool. I like, Shin.
He screams constantly too.
Constant. Oh god, true.
But I don't have to hear it, so I'm okay.
It's a manga.
Whoever's next can go.
I'll go next.
Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. There are. I noticed there are a lot of similarities with One Piece.
Okay.
Like how Shin is sort of a mixture of Luffy and Zoro.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean he's hot.
Go on.
And just like Zoro, he had a rival who died, and now he's trying to become the greatest general under the heavens, sort of like. And even Ace has a goal like. In this, the generals are sort of idealized like the pirates in One Piece. I mean, like how in the One Piece the pirates represent freedom. Here, Ace is trying to conquer the whole continent so that he can establish peace.
Neat. Yeah. I mean, it feels very shonen in general. Like in some ways, just the rivalries and the hot-blooded main character. Just yeah. So I see where you're coming from. Even though it is technically seinen, which is why I thought it was Nensha material, but then it wasn't because it ran in a seinen magazine. It's like, oh, never mind. But now I get to read it anyway, so that's cool. Did you have any thoughts on the opening arcs, Pablo? Our opening arc?
So basically, I thought the opening arcs. Well, I'll start with Kyo's Rebellion arc, I suppose, because I'm guessing that's where we are right now.
I suppose.
I'm kind of in the like just the first opening with the assassination, like before the Mountain Men. Like I'm not looking at an arc listing in my head. It's like the first introduction, then it's like Mountain Men, and then it's the actual like rebellion and battle with the what's the prince's name?
Sei's brother.
Yeah, the younger brother. That little fucking shit. I kind of like, he's the kind of character you loved. I loved hating that little fucker. Like, oh man. Anyway, but anyway.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. But I don't know. The early chapters, it very much like it gave me like, because I'm a big samurai manga fan. If you couldn't tell by my profile picture. So
of course, should have guessed.
So.
Go on.
And it gave me those kind of like that historical feeling that those series like Blade of the Immortal, Rurouni Kenshin, Vagabond kind of gave me, where it's like very wispy, like I said, kind of the art. It kind of just feels like, I don't know, it's kind of it's like a ghost village almost, everything. And especially Shin's village kind of reminded me of like the villages from like Blade of the Immortal and Kenshin, where they just kind of felt like ghost towns in a way.
Okay.
So, but instantly, I did grow to like Shin, and more. I think more as the series progressed, I grew to like him more. At first, I'm like, he's fine, but I guess it's just because I've seen his archetype so much that it's like he didn't leave too much of an impression at first.
Yeah, that's fair.
But as it went on, I did grow to like him. I was actually a lot more interested in. I was especially interested in their interactions as characters, especially their training scenes, which I think those were like probably the most enjoyable parts for me in the early chapters were their training scenes. I don't know, something about them just kind of stuck out to me a little. And then Sei dies, and I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't feel much. Hyo. But I didn't get much emotional reaction. I'm just like, oh, that's sad. And then Shin goes into the whole like waste village and just kind of destroys everybody with his wooden sword. I thought that was pretty funny. And then you meet Sei, which when I first saw that scene, when he opens up the tent, you just see Sei. I'm just like, what the hell? Because I was so confused at first. I'm like, oh, so the other guy was a dummy, but no, well, he was, but it's like,
yeah, not the dummy for the one we knew. He was the dummy for the one we didn't know.
Yeah, so instantly I was really confused, but then I started explaining it, and I'm like, oh, so that's why he wears different clothing in the opening. Because I'm like, in the first scene you see him, he had a blue shirt, and then in the next scene he has like a palace red shirt. I'm like, oh, that explains a lot actually. So instantly I clipped that back, and I clipped that in my head. And then the assassin fight came out. I was fine with it. I thought it was a fine first battle. Shin beat him. It was pretty cool. It was he's built on emotions, but I also kind of liked how he won not only because of his emotions, but because of how much training he's done with Yao.
Yeah, well, like I like how Shin's like really strong, but he's still treated like a kid. Like I love towards the end after he was like fought in his first battle and he's trying to get armor and no one believes that he's actually like a soldier. Yeah. So that kind of stuff is him just getting underestimated. It's always fun.
Yeah. But I liked it, and I especially liked it because it's like his training. Because we see that he trained like, what was it, for like 8 years or something?
Yeah, hundreds of duels.
Yeah, he, like 100 duels with him, and it all makes sense. Like when it shows us those beginning scenes of him training, it makes sense why he's so strong. So I did enjoy that. I mean, the first fight didn't really stick out to me, but it made sense to me in my head, so I liked it for that. And is that where we're stopping right there? Just where we meet Sei?
I just like to say that the assassin looks pretty cool. I like him a lot.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it.
Okay. Go ahead, Nunmanji.
I was surprised that Shin actually beat the Zuxodon. I think that's how you say it. So early because they were like talking about how he had a 200-year history, and normally it would be a while before the protagonist would get like revenge. But
I see.
Kyo said how
Yeah.
Shin will fly higher than anyone else, and then like he's quite literally in the air when he kills him. So it's like it's already showing how Shin surpassed what Kyo couldn't do. I like that fight. As a beginning fight. Yeah, that's all I have to really say.
Was that everyone's thoughts on the first arc? Did anyone else have anything else to add? Or shall we move on? Or go ahead.
I will say that as like a first fight, I will just like Nunmanji said, I actually thought it was actually a pretty good like first fight. I thought the fight like as a whole was just fine, but as a beginning fight, I actually thought it was a pretty interesting, introduction to how really strong Shin is, especially when he gets emotional. So because it shows off like his dozens of matches of training and how he was even able to beat like this highly trained assassin who's been training for who knows how many years of his life, and he just cut him down. So
afterwards, we get introduced to Ace and the whole scenario with the Civil War.
We also meet
the 10
Birdman.
The man. So yeah, one thing I guess that happens a couple times is like a gender reveal, like it happened with the king of the mountain men, and then 10, and then what was her name? Kyokai later. Like that's 3 characters who are girls, but were introduced like implied to be men at first, or boys. And which makes sense given that like it's historical, it's supposed to be representative of the time period. But I'm not sure how many artistic liberties are taken to put females in, like, because those 2 of them are like strong, really strong. So but it's fine. I just thought it was interesting, like, because I'm trying to think of other examples of like gender reveals like that where recently that I've seen in like an anime or manga. Like it's not a trope. I see a lot. I mean,
Sugimi and Nisekoi.
Oh, that's true. Even though it was like a chapter or 2 before that happened, but it was a bit. That's true. Yeah, I don't know why I forgot that. But yeah, it was just interesting to see it 3 times in the same work when I'm struggling to think of 3 other series that do it in the first place. So, and it's funny because I was like, that character looks like a girl. Oh, it is a girl. Like for like dozen chapters, I was like, 10. Why does 10 look like a girl? And then she's literally a girl. That explains it. Oh yeah, and then also during we get introduced to possibly Shin's maybe my favorite character, but if there was a contender, it would be fucking. Why can't I remember his name?
Who is it?
Lips.
Oh, Uki?
Oki, yes.
I always pronounced it Ueki, but yeah.
The mountain?
No, the former 6th general guy who is training Shin in the last bit. Kind of by like literally just like he kicked him off the cliff. Like he's just he kind of reminds me of like Hisoka a bit, where he's just very like fickle and kind of like you could see him being either protagonist or an antagonist depending on his mood. Like he's mostly been protagonistic so far. Maybe that might continue in the future, but it's just, and also maybe the effeminateness of it, like the gag where they're just suddenly in the, like Shin's just like, I'll follow him, and then they're suddenly bathing together. It's like, how the fuck did this happen? So but yeah, I like both of them, but Oki is notable as a character I like because relatively speaking, he's got less screen time. So I'm curious to see more of him in the future.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, I guess moving on to the Mountain Men arc.
To the next one.
Yep, we get introduced to Ace's motivation. We see the fucking Mountain Men who are like crazy strong.
Can I also just say that the comedy scene with when we were introduced to the Mountain Men, and then it's like this intimidating page, all the soldiers are just like scared shitless, and then you just turn the page and you just see Shin with a really goofy face just staring at one of them. I couldn't help but to really chuckle at that one.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh, anyway, if we're talking about the Mountain Man arc, as I like to call it, during the Mountain Man arc, I find it to be a sort of good example of misleading at the beginning, since Mountain Men are treated as these savage beasts. They don't listen to reason. They're never ally with us whatsoever. even freaking the wise old guy whose name I can't remember for the life of me says we shouldn't do this. It's a terrible idea. And when they finally manage to go in, even though Shin fucks up and manages to get captured along with Heki, Ace, the diplomat and badass that he is, still manages to get an alliance going and teams up with the Mountain Men. And it also kind of shows that the Mountain Men are just big beef boys who pillage and kill as the masks say. So
well, they also kind of showed that when we saw like their cliffside village, which was definitely one of the more striking locations thus far. Like I would say it's kind of stand out for me just because it's like, yeah, like you're saying, like the Mountain Men are these savages, cannibals, monsters, but then it's like no, they have like a civilization. It's just
were able
farther
to do
away.
That.
Yeah,
and yet they were able to do that. That's something amazing, I find.
Right. So it was kind of laying the groundwork for the what's it called, the fact that they are able to listen to reason and diplomacy. So yeah.
And they're even able to construct such great feats of architect. Think about the logistics, the materials that it would take to build an entire city or civilization in general onto the side of a cliff. You would need manpower, organization. Like savages aren't going to be able to do that, and it goes to show that sort of the Mountain Men are just as capable as the Quinn.
Okay, so who else had some thoughts on the arc?
So, right, I will say that the 10 secret I accidentally spoiled for myself because I looked up a picture of her and it showed me the picture, a different picture, and I'm like, oh, now I know it's a girl. So I'm like, great. So that was one thing. 10's introduction I found to be fairly amusing. I actually find her and her interactions with Shin to be incredibly amusing. Just for some, they're just fun. I don't know. I'm just kind of I'm a sucker for that kind of goofy comedy. And then as the art kind of get progressing, I was pretty interested in the Mountain Men. I was especially like interested in their designs. I found their designs to be quite striking, actually.
Oh yeah, with all the unique masks. I gotcha.
Yeah, and when we finally met them, like they were like really intimidating, and we just have like the nice goofy page of Shin, and it just kind of like eased it a little bit. And I just found it really entertaining. But I also we got to see like more of like the arm, like how Shobuken, the old guy who's always near.
That's his name, Shobuken.
Yeah, Sei. We also kind of get to see more of like a taste of his loyalty, like how undeterminedly like loyal he is to Shin. Not to Shin, to Sei, and like to the idea of like the crown and the king of Kin, the real king at least. And also the page, the introduction page to where we see like the cliffside of the Mountain Men. Because I was also fooled because I also thought I was just gonna see like some village, like just some random like hunk in the mill village. But when we see that page, it kind of gave me a One Piece feel when it introduces a new location. It just has like that gorgeous panel. It just kind of reminded me of that because it was just a really beautiful panel, and just all of like the architecture that you can see there. It all looked just really, really pretty. And it also gave me the idea that, oh wow, these guys aren't just savages. They, like Franz said, like, you know, they actually have a civilization of their own that could actually be on par with the Kins. Quins, whatever.
Our pronunciation is going to be all over the place. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but yeah, that's about all I have to say for the mountain people arc. I just thought it was a good setup arc and leading into the next arc.
Yeah, which it does do. Winchester.
I thought it was nice how Karyoten got her blowpipe from that Muta, so that was nice. Yeah. And it was interesting to hear Ace's thought, goal. He wanted to unite the entire continent by waging war. So
it was good setup for pretty much the rest of the series, really. When you think about his ambition. Nunmanji, you want to try again? I guess Nunmanji's sitting the rest of this one out, which is unfortunate. All right. Anyway, I think that was everyone then. So yeah, I guess moving on. Ace, reaches diplomacy with the mountain people, including their queen, who they keep calling king because I don't know. I think It's probably a gender neutral word. Japanese is pretty gender neutral overall. So
you probably know more Japanese than I do, all things considered.
I tried to learn it, and I guess I do.
You're not speaking Japanese right now, so
I didn't learn it. I said I tried. Trying is not succeeding.
Let's keep it rolling.
But yeah, so then we go into the rebellion proper, where the mountain men sort of. I liked how they went as like merchants. Oh look, we're soldiers here to join your force, and I think the chancellor was like, oh cool, we have new soldiers, and then he's like, okay, no fucking way, there's something's up here, and I was like, okay, I thought I couldn't just accept it, but all right. So yeah, for my overall thoughts on the rebellion arc, I liked it. I liked the good fighting, cool. It was a good climax to the. It kind of like, yeah, I can see. Or on the wiki page you have, are they considered the same arc?
Yeah, Seikyo's rebellion arc.
Yeah,
the whole entire arc.
Yeah, I understand why, because like I just mentally considered it as 3 separate ones, just because I didn't check. But I understand why, because they just go straight into each other. So yeah, and I like I said, I liked Seikyo in that I hated him because he was a little fucking evil shit who made these fucking faces, and just like he was just a cunt about it, like, oh, I'm a king, I'm royal, I'm blood, and then Ace just like he doesn't even kill him, and that was like the best part. He just fucking leaves him in a pool of his fucking tears and blood, and I beat the shit beaten out of him. I was like, yeah, good stuff.
Kick his ass.
And you kind of see like the beginnings of like the war stuff that we go even more into later. But so yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. If I think of anything more to say, I'll say it. But I'm guessing, I guess Frank can go first as usual if you want to say your thoughts.
So first off, the invasion part is sort of a good. I'm gonna check it just to make sure I'm not spoiling. So this is a good sort of preamble for what the series gets into in its next arc, where sort of generals, the soldiers are fighting. It's sort of a good preamble for Shin to get sort of used to getting surrounded by a ton of soldiers and getting surrounded by a ton of soldiers and him being part of a unit on the battlefield. To some extent, getting sent orders where you're not supposed to sort of question them, I'd like to say, and sort of good for him to understand what happens in a war, how he should conduct himself in a sense. Same thing with, say, Ace. This is the first time him seeing a full battlefield and him understanding that this type of stuff is necessary, and that his brother wouldn't have backed down through simple diplomacy, and that sometimes waging war where you might kill your own soldiers, that's what has to happen sometimes to get things done and get to a brighter future.
Flipping through one scene, the pages, one scene I liked was when Shin was like dragging the mountain man along and explaining like his past, and then he's like, Shin, he's dead, and I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah, that part actually kind of broke my heart, I'm not gonna lie.
He had his arm torn off, but he still wanted to keep going.
I'm just like, God damn it, man, no.
It was just this small moment, but it was good. It was good.
Why do I have to get reminded of that?
Yeah, that broke my heart.
I deliberately said it to twist your heartstrings. Winchester, you want to go on your thoughts for the rebellion?
Nothing to say.
Okay, Pablo.
So right off the bat, I found the rebellion to be incredibly enjoyable and entertaining, and I overall just like how it really uses build-up from the other 2 arcs to make even more build-up for the later arcs. And also, I just love the gag with Shin and the mask that he made from the mountain people. I don't know why, this just cracked me up a little. Kind of reminded me of Luffy. It's something that Luffy kind of would do, I feel.
Okay.
I also just like how 20 or 50 mountain men just kind of destroyed like this entire almost army of the soldiers of Kin.
1,500.
Yeah.
Along those lines.
But and also just like the strategies that the mountain men use, like the ones that play dead and how they used it as a way to like infiltrate the lines of the crossbow men.
That was cool.
And there were some good battles, like the battle, like the Shin's battle in like the corridor, I think is what it was, in the hallway.
Yeah, I don't. Who is the name of the guy?
And he has to fight that general.
Yeah, the one really strong guy.
Yeah.
Saji.
So, thank you.
Oh, Saji, yeah.
Yeah,
Big
Saji.
boy. The big boy.
So that was all really good stuff, and obviously just seeing Sei's little brother, I keep forgetting his name, just getting
Seikyo, yeah.
Seikyo, just getting his ass handed to him was incredibly satisfying. And also Uki had probably the most badass just like introduction. He just jumps off a wall and just slices people to shreds, and then he just walks away. Like instantly I grew to like his character just from that, because they're characters that I kind of call chaos factors, where you don't know if they're a hero or a protagonist or an antagonist.
I gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
So they just kind of cause chaos, like Hisoka or Kimberly or Shinkoyo from Hojin Engi, those kind of characters. So it kind of reminded me of that, and I just really gravitate towards those characters. And also his Uki's just like his words, like the way he talks, it's kind of interesting, especially kind of how he pushes Sei and yeah, it's his laugh. But the way he kind of pushes Sei and even later on Shin to just kind of go beyond like what a normal response, to give him a full, wholehearted, honest response of what they want to be. He's kind of like testing them, I guess. And he gives them words of encouragement in like kind of a subtle way that they kind of have to figure out on their own, and then leaves. And I just can't help but to love that. Also, his past as a general I found interesting, like where the King of War, I think, is Sei's grandfather, and the whole relationship there, where it's Uki just kind of wants to take flight at once more, but can't.
Yeah.
Because he's loyal to his previous king, which I thought was an interesting dynamic. But even then, he still likes to mess around and play every so often, just show up and slaughter a few dudes and then walk away and do nothing else. So yeah, overall I thought it was a pretty good just very McCarthic battle, I guess you can say. And blood, it was fiery, it was engaging, it was interesting, had some interesting strategies, and the resolution I thought was also really good. So yeah,
it's good stuff.
Oh, what was the name of the really big guy? I remember I said it.
Rankai.
Is it the big guy, the monster brother? Yeah.
Rankai.
Yeah, him. I mean, I find it kind of sad, the fact that, he's just this big guy, and it's hint that Seikyu tortured him
since he was like a child.
Since he was a child, and only uses him as a tool of some kind. It's something minor, but it really gets in the feels.
Yeah, Seiko's just kind of like irredeemable. So
yeah,
which is why seeing him get like the shit kicked out of him was really fun.
Things do get better for Rankai.
Yeah.
They
that's spoilers. Mute him.
Yeah, don't do that. No, it's fine.
My little sister like caught up with the series like a week ago, and like I already know a few like minor spoilers, because she would just constantly like make me look over at her iPad, and I would see the panels, and I'd cry a little inside.
Oh no.
Don't.
Well, it's okay. You're slightly less likely to be on the podcast. Well, Friends already read more, so it's even if you read ahead, that's fine. I'm just not personally going to, so it's fine.
I'm used to talking to people about like avoiding spoilers.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so yeah, moving on to the next arc. Yeah, well, I kind of like how Shin, like, even though he helped, the new king, basically, he's still, like, he's not getting a free ticket, and nor does he really want one. Like, he just gets, like, a little house, and he's like, cool, this is enough. I can become a soldier.
This is all I need.
Because he deliberately wants to start from the bottom and go to the top. And we get introduced to, like, units, and we see a bunch of weird soldier guys, and he gets stuck with the misfits, and it's like, yep, this is exactly.
He gets stuck with the weirdos.
Yeah. Though, can I say that Kyokai's probably become my second favorite character aside from Uki? I'm just gonna point that out right now.
Okay.
Best girl.
Which one's Kyokai?
Kyokai, the dancer assassin lady.
Yeah.
Oh, I speaking. I guess to skip ahead to her because she was like a soldier for a bit, and I loved like there was, I think it was like one of those volume end things where there's just like extra like pages of like other things that were happening at the time, and there was the one because she had her friend who was interested who wanted to be in with a man, and then she's like we see her like sleeping in the tent with these slobs, and she's just like, these are the men you want to be with, like just a funny good humor. I just thought about that because this was when she was pretending to be a soldier.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess like I think this arc might have been my favorite one. The war, the first battle, or Shin's first major battle, like on the field as a soldier in battles. So,
it's definitely
what was it?
It's definitely a throw up between this and the assassination plot arc for me.
Oh yeah, the assassination plot was good too. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. I forgot about that one too, honestly.
Yeah.
So minor.
Or is well, the narration bubble like said like this is gonna be a big deal, and
then it lasted 10 chapters.
Anyway.
Oh, my bad, 14.
But yeah, I was definitely into the war arc. I liked, just the tactics and all the stuff going on.
Yeah. I like how Shin refuses, like he tells the truth constantly. Because I remember at some point he tells one of the people from his village whose name I'm bad with names, I'm very sorry. Bihei, where he says like, oh, yeah, I helped the king, and then they think he's completely lying. No way, man. The king's like top tier shit. You can't hang with him. But the fact that he's telling the truth is really amazing and kind of shows that he's not being kind of shows that him telling the truth was sometimes getting mocked in a sense.
Yeah, like he's not even like bragging. Like, I mean, he kind of is, but he's just telling the truth as well. But he's not like over embellishing or anything. But they still don't believe him just because it's so ludicrous. So
I mean, if I said I stopped the presidential assassination, no one would believe me.
Good point. Good point.
I don't believe you. Anyway, do you have any more thoughts on this arc or?
Okay. For the war arc, this is when he fully gets into, oh yeah, this is war never changes.
Oh yeah, it was super brutal, like with the fucking cavalry charges and like let's use a bunch of bodies and as a shield. And like Jesus Christ,
the people getting mowed down by the chariots, man. Like,
yeah, something a bit minor I find is that Duke Hugh, like at first he's like, he has a habit of sending his men to die. He might not be such a good general, and at the end, Uki himself, who is basically the most powerful character at this moment in terms of power scaling, says there is no man better than Ukyu when it comes to warfare. And then they win. Yeah. Also, I really like this. It sort of doesn't glorify war, nor does it make it seem particularly terrible. More like a necessary thing that most participants have to do to gain something. I can't quite remember why they waged campaign in the first place, but something about
it was
land.
Because it was it was like a land dispute or like this like tiny little area that was like split between Zou and Qin, and they had to like fight over it.
It also kind of shows that Zou and Qin aren't the nicest of allies, and that they're constantly trying to kick each other out of their own territory and get more.
Pablo or Winchester?
Okay, it's actually where they're fighting again. So right, okay, so I find it interesting that there are two types of generals. One's the instinctive type and the strategic type. So
that go on.
It was interesting to see how they interacted, how the two differing generals fought each other, and in the end, at the end of the battle, when the enemy general he decides to fight Duke Hyo head on, and he abandons his way of fighting and decides to fight him in a one-on-one battle, he loses. So
yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting because like they set up the emotion and logic, but then the logic gives way to emotion, but then he loses. So I'm curious to see how that will be iterated on in the future. Sorry, I interrupted you. Keep going, or was that all you had to say?
That's it.
No, I guess on the generals, because I remember hearing someone talk about how like the battles in Kingdom kind of go down. Like it's about the generals. Like quote unquote realistically, like they should have, they were like 3,000 men surrounded by like fucking 18,000. Like they should have been, but all the men lost morale when their general died. But it's like, yeah, it's unrealistic. But Oki literally said like the generals are all that matters, so it's fine. Like it's more cinematic that way. You could put it. It's cooler.
There's a line that addresses this, but I cannot remember for the life of me if it was before chapter 107. But
later, potentially later on. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, honestly.
Because aside from Oki's one that I just mentioned, or because I'm interested to see like how future battles will like expand on these ideas. Because like again, there's the logic versus emotion, and then there's only the generals matter kind of. But even then, like I think Shin kind of questioned that because he's like, all these people died just for the generals kind of, and he is, because like at the end he's now a commander of 100 men, so he's on the way to being a general. So that's kind of like he's definitely emotional. So I mean, I'm guessing that's his type of general, but I'm curious as to like, like how much do his men matter? Is he going to be like Hyo, where he, just lets all his men die, or probably not? Yeah, maybe not, but maybe so. But these seems to be the emotional type, so I guess we'll find out. I'm just speculating.
The journey to 100,000 men begins with only 100 men. Okay, so I'm all about this, showing that Quinn's generals aren't to be toyed with, and that mere foot soldiers can't quite understand their plan. And despite the fact that many people near Shin are like, "Oh God, I don't want to do this. I don't want to die. Let's not do this," they still do it anyway, and their general was right, and they end up winning. And the soldiers are shown to be diligent and will always follow orders regardless of if they get completely destructed or not.
Yeah. But I guess what I was gonna say is because you remind me, but the enemy general, I forget what his name was with the face paint. He's like the subordinate to one of the 4 heavenly kings. So, or one of the 4 heavenly generals or whatever, the strong ones. So it's like, we haven't even begun with the...
His name was Kokugu.
Okay, gotcha.
Wait, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No.
Gyokugu, or are you sure? Okay.
Goke.
No.
I think it's Goke.
Goke.
You're right. Goke, yeah.
I made a mistake there, my bad.
Yeah, so it's like, power scaling, it's inevitable. But I don't think I had much else to say. One thing I noticed is like just like how Duke Hyo like wants to fight enemy generals so he can better understand them. It reminded me of Ichigo from Bleach, because he also kind of does that. But that was just I just like, hey, I recognize that. But I don't have much more to say. I think that's all I had to say about this stretch. So, did you not go yet, Pablo?
No, I didn't go.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. But I think this is the part where I just got really gripped into Kingdom for me personally. Also, can I just say that I really enjoy his designs for the armors of the soldiers, and how they each look different for the countries, like how Kin's look different from that of Zhao's, and like the small differences in their armor. Like I thoroughly enjoyed like the design, looking at the designs of the armors.
Is this a weekly manga or a monthly manga?
It's
I guess
weekly.
Weekly by the amount of chapters. So that's pretty good for a weekly series. Like
yeah. It's published in Young Jump, which is where Tokyo Ghoul is published.
Oh, all right. Yeah, gotcha.
Man, this sure isn't for young people.
But I really enjoyed the combat. I thought it kind of gave an interesting kind of just like an artistically kind of, what's the word? So it's basically how they fought at the time, but it's like with artistic liberties taken. Yeah, liberties taken. And it kind of reminded me that I'm reading a series about ancient China before it was even unified. So, and I also kind of like how every country kind of specializes in their own combat, like how Zhao specializes in the chariots, or how Qin specializes through its generals.
Yeah, giving them each their own kind of like personality, so to speak, or gimmick even, whichever way you want to slice it.
I'm not going to spoil it, but the other states, they sort of do the same thing as well.
Where they have their own thing, quote unquote. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I've heard people say that Kingdom is it is a shonen that takes the mask of a seinen. So it's like that's a very shonen thing. So like yeah, of course.
It's just like the masks of the mountain man.
Oh,
but
it's deep, man. It's deep. So I did want to, I guess. Oh yeah, and fucking Oki stole the show where he's like, "That's a nice hill. I want to be on that hill. Let's go to that hill."
And then he stays on that hill and refuses to help.
I just love how he kind of acts like that kid who will not play with you, but he'll participate and do something, and then he'll just kind of go do his own thing after that. I just find it kind of like entertaining that he's kind of like this childish personality of, hey, that hill looks really nice. Let's go slaughter like 100 soldiers just to get on there and just stand and watch, you know? It's a nice hill. I also really like the Kyokai's kind of like little gags with her always just constantly having her back turned from everybody. Everybody's like looking all like Shin's serious, or the other three idiots are kind of like all concerned, and then Kyokai's just looking away because it's just kind of like doing her own thing. And like I don't know, it's just kind of amusing, which I kind of grew to like Kyokai's sarcastic personality as the series progressed. So it gave a nice kind of look into that. Let's see. The strategies and like the overall combat I thought was overall engaging. Like how they used a bunch of dead bodies just to defeat the chariots. I thought was pretty cool. Or the race to the hill, which had my heart beating the entire time. I also just regarding Uki's words of what a general are, I like how both Shin and Heki both kind of misunderstood what he meant, and then he had to elaborate on it. And it's not just like, I also kind of found it interesting that it's not just about like the types of generals there are, but like what a general means in the battlefield and what it means to their soldiers. Like how when the Kin general, I forgot his name, the one with the shark teeth. Yeah, Dukyo, and how he defeats the Zhao general, and how instead of like all the soldiers going in and attacking Dukyo, they all just kind of give up and start crying, and they just give up because of the fact that their general was dead. And it kind of gave like an input of like what a general means to its soldiers and like its troops, and more than overall to like how he can change the battlefield. It's an interesting idea that I saw get brought up a lot after this arc, especially like what a general means to its troops.
It's sort of like in Total War.
I guess that's one way to look at it. I haven't played Total War, but I mean,
how the generals affect morale.
Yeah, if the general is dead, then the army has nothing to fall back to, and
it's also like the emotional.
Collapses.
Yeah, it's also like the emotional connection like the soldiers had to their general. How they're all just bawling on the ground, just like they just lost their will to fight. And I thought that was interesting, especially considering that Kin lost more soldiers than Zhao, but because of Dukyo's interesting, the way he fights. Also, okay, I also just love how badass he looks when he's riding with his soldiers and they're just mowing down everybody like a tank. It just like the way that it makes the generals look and how like far Shin has to go. It's kind of an interesting power scaling, like has been said with like the generals and how like they're powerful they are. How they kind of like resemble demons in a way. But yeah, and then it ended, and it was a small moment, but I kind of really liked the relationship and with Ten and Shin and how it kind of progressed as it's into kind of like almost a family bond almost. Like how she was like tearing up because she thought Shin died in the war, and then she sees him and gets all emotional and tries to hide it. And I thought it was kind of a cute moment, to be honest. Like the whole, because it kind of brought in some like family themes, despite not being blood related in a way, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, she cooks food for him, so it's like, yeah.
But it's I don't know. I kind of like gave me like this sense of like they kind of act like family, kind of a brother-sister relationship. So yeah, I'm curious to see if that will actually get explored regarding like any family themes. But for now, I was pretty satisfied with that, and I thought it was just an overall really good arc. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, Nunmanji, you want to try again?
You're the reason I'll be able to sleep tonight, Nunmanji.
To read out what he said in the chat, he noted that when Shin pulled ahead of the infantry because of his like recklessness and nearly got one of his squad killed, like I guess he's wondering if in the future his recklessness will be explored, which would be interesting. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't read far enough. Fran is certainly like biting his like thumb, trying not to say anything.
Don't worry, I'm biting a canker sore in my lip, so you don't have to worry about
Close enough. Ow.
Sadly, I kind of know how that's going to develop because of my little sister's spoilers.
Oh well, like that's good to know that it does get explored, but I guess
Gee,
that's spoiled now. Nice going, guys.
I wonder what's gonna happen.
Emotions.
Okay, so Nunmanji is definitely here in spirit. Anyway, moving on to, I guess it's both the assassination arc, but also there's like a prelude to that with the girl.
Escape from Zhao arc, as the Wikia calls it.
Yeah, it's apparently a separate arc, apparently.
Oh yeah, with the flash or the flashback.
It's enough chapters for them to basically be the same thing.
But yeah, they kind of go into each other like instantly. So
anyway, say backstory. Who wants to start?
Or how about Pablo goes first because he usually goes last.
I'll go. I have less to say about this one than the other one, so
that's fine. Go ahead.
Instantly, I really like the servant girl. Her kind of like plain design and how it's like used as a gag I found kind of amusing. But also just kind of her relationship and how she starts to bond with Sei. How even though he has tons of beautiful women, he picks the most plain girl just because he wants to read his scrolls at night. Which, I found amusing, but I also like what he meant as like he just likes her a lot. He just likes her.
Yeah.
So
Sei is a nice guy.
Yeah. And then the flashback arc is probably like the most emotional I've gotten in the series. It kind of
in the fields.
Did you have anything to say, Winchester?
No.
All right. So this backstory is really sad, as you can probably tell, and it kind of shows how, sort of at the beginning, Sei, like I mentioned at the beginning, he's not just some sort of king who's stayed at home, got whatever food he wanted, got taught tactics through a chessboard only kind of thing. No, he had to escape from Zhao, watch a lot of people he loved die, and even before then, he was emotionally detached to the point where he can stab a knife through his hand and somehow not feel anything regardless.
Yeah. Well,
it's not like a lot of people he loved died. It's like the first person he loved died.
Like the first person he made like an actual emotional connection with, a person that like reached out to him.
No matter how you put it, it still puts me in the feels.
Yeah. And so like like he said, I also liked how how his upbringing, it also kind of makes sense how he's able to like resonate with Shin because he also kind of grew up in just kind of a shitty situation. Yeah. But it's like I would say Sei had it worse just because of like how much pain he had to get put through to the point where he was just so dead inside, literally, to the point where he couldn't feel anything, no matter how hard he hit himself, no matter how hard he tried, and how he's being like punished for something he had nothing to do. He like constantly in his mind is like seeing like the demons of the people who died in that battle that I can't remember the name of the battle, but it's or the country. Yeah, I can't remember, but it's like he's like faced with like he's like faced with like these demons that he never the people who died in that battle that the king just slaughtered, and he's like being punished by it for something that he was never directly responsible for, just because of the fact that he's now in their country and they can do whatever they want to him, except kill him, obviously, because that would cause a war. And especially like the scene where he's like in the forest with the girl who like reached the smuggler, and Shika, and like the demons, like these corpses start like reaching out of the ground and like trying to drag him in. And but it's also, I also found it interesting, like when we look into his subconscious, he looks normal, but when we look back at what he looks on the outside, he doesn't look too good.
I actually didn't
But
notice that.
I noticed it, I think, on the final one where I'm like, oh, I just noticed that, you know, he doesn't look like crap when he's in his, like, mind, in his subconscious.
He's still salvageable in a sense.
Yeah, like, yeah, I guess you could say that, like, that part was still salvageable on the inside, but on the outside, it was nothing but just the cruel torture that he's been put through. And also, I also kind of want to see more of where his relationship with his mom went around. I kind of know bits and pieces because of my sister, but for the most part, I'm more interested in. I'm still interested in to see like what she looks like and like where it's gonna go because of the fact that he walks into the house and we think we're gonna meet her, but we don't. We just know very little about her other than that she's supposed to be really pretty and that she became a prostitute just to be able to you know, care for him. But also, even though like Sheikah's death was kind of predictable in the end, I still kind of started to tear up a little bit inside when she died because it was like it's the person that finally brought him out of the darkness, and she just perishes before and she couldn't even complete her promise that she made to him of being by his side for the rest of his life. So. I don't know. Some interesting ideas regarding Sei's backstory, like how like the rough upbringing, despite being that of royalty, and that fact that he was being blamed for something that had nothing to do with him, and even had to see like the demons of that event. So, yeah, I think that's all I have to say.
Go ahead, Winchester.
Even though he was suffering because of war, he still wanted to wage war to he wanted to wage war to conquer the continent. So I think that's interesting. Even though he suffered so much because of the Queen General's actions.
Yeah, well, I guess kind of related, semi-related to that, because you know, the whole idea was, you know, pass on the kindness. Shika was saved, and so she saved Sei, and so I wonder if he will pass on that kindness somehow, maybe in the future. But I guess that was just a thought I had. Overall thoughts on the arc is I liked it. It was neat. Shika was cool. You know, I don't think it's my favorite arc, but it was good. Oh, there was one. I guess it was a joke or a gag where, because it was in the middle of the fighting, and Shika picks up a bow, and one of the soldiers on the cover is like, haha, woman picked up. She's gonna try and use a bow, and then like the next panel is one of them getting shot in the face.
You got like, I think it was the same guy who said it too. He got like shot through the eye.
Fucking wrecked. I was like,
nice. The scrub got wrecked.
Oh no, it was the same panel. There's like the guy on the right is like, haha, a woman is trying to use a bow even though she's so frail. And then the guy next to him getting hit in the eye.
It's just like, I also just kind of love how it's just like this panel of where it's just like it's just registering to the guy. He's just like, oh, my friend just died.
Yeah. To a woman? What?
Oh, the guy who said it got hit next. That's what happened. Because he's like, oh shit, my ally just died. You bit, and then he gets shot, and it's like, get wrecked, faggot. Oh, I also liked them getting through the checkpoints, like the one bit where like the dude just randomly shot the barrel, and then they were like immensely like, Sei was in there, and they're just like, and I was like, oh shit, that's right, he was hiding in the rice, or and you know, just it was neat.
He stabbed the knife through his hand, so he'd probably be fine at that point.
Yeah, he didn't even feel like the arrow hitting through him or being pulled out, and I'm like, he didn't even like scream, and I'm like, god damn, man, like it made me it made me cringe a little inside, just like thinking about like all the pain that he had to go through just to not feel anything.
But yeah, it was good, and I don't think I have much more to say. So, any other thoughts on the sort of build up to the assassin arc?
I kind of like how Shin's just, I mean, not Shin, god damn it, Sei's just telling this story to I don't know her name, the palace girl, the plain one, which is kind of the gag.
Yeah.
And she's bawling her eyes out. I'm like, well, at least somebody feels what I'm feeling here. Yeah,
she's cute. Oh yeah, and I also liked how she was like hearing rumors about things and just being a normal goof. She's a dork. She's a cute dork.
She like exaggerated everything. She overthought it. Kind of reminded me of like early Chi-Chi from Dragon Ball, where she just overthought everything.
I think that was all we had to say. So I guess moving on, Well, and there's like right away you get that moment I talked about earlier where Shin's trying to get the armor and it's not working out. But then like he sees meets another soldier from the war and he's like, oh, Sir Cavalry, and he's just got like a huge crowd around him, and it's like, you know, it's not like he's never been, you know, he's going unrecognized, but he's, you know, he's finally starting to get up in the world.
He's starting to get known for his actions.
So I guess the second to last arc, like, because after the assassin arc, there's like a short like build into the training, but so I guess we'll talk about the assassin arc first. So yeah, overall thoughts on the assassin arc, Francie?
The thing with the assassination arc is kind of feels a bit filler-ish in a sense, because I mean, in the end, it's an assassination plot, and of course, if they're trying to be historically accurate, then they have to show it. But honestly, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like anyone really develops or really changes as much. I couldn't entirely agree.
Well, it's mostly for Kyokai. Mostly,
trying to sort of get realizing she's an assassin and that, you know, they're your friends. You shouldn't kill your friends. But also, I don't know, just something. I don't know. Kyokai is the only character who really changes much.
Stuck out.
No, there's Ryo-ten. I think that's her name.
Oh,
it was set up for them to have that conversation about being women, and Ryo-ten found out what she wanted to do, and then she went off to become a strategist.
Yeah,
that's a good point right there. I forgot about that.
Yeah, me too, honestly. Okay, ignore everything I just said. This is a women promotion arc where they promote from Kyokai from being an emotionally emotionally suppressed woman into someone who sort of wants to understand the outside world more and has somewhere to go, and 10 turning into a person who's determined to help Shin besides cooking and cleaning, and she wants to attempt to become a tactician.
And every now and then shooting the blow dart.
Every now and then, exactly.
I liked how like the assassins kind of like weren't there were different groups, but they weren't like 100% together. And I also like the callback to the first arc, because like you had the assassins who were like, hey, it's the guy who killed our comrade, but they weren't like fighting out of vengeance for him. They were like, hey, you know, he failed to kill you know, him, so we'll make up for that failure, the failure of our organization. So like he's fighting for the organization, not because they're assassins, they're not exactly, you know, the best of butts.
They're fighting for the pay.
So yeah, that was cool. Yeah. Kyokai's backstory was neat. With Sho, I think was her name, Shokai. Winchester, did you have anything to say about the assassination arc?
Nothing.
Well, I don't really have much to say, but the female assassin clan, I'm kind of curious on their on what their basis is in real China. Like, did that exist?
Yeah.
Or I can't imagine. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would, but I'm curious.
Might be like based like on a folk tale or something, like a story, like a piece of fiction written in China, maybe.
Because I definitely hadn't thought like fully about like the historical. I know it is based on the real Aisei, I imagine, but the actual historical events. But I didn't like go to Wikipedia because there's spoilers on Wikipedia.
I actually got spoiled on Ryo-ten being a girl when I was looking into some of the characters if they're real.
Yeah, that's how I got spoiled.
Okay, yeah. See, I've been avoiding that because I've been there with Vinland Saga, because Vinland Saga is basically like, what if Kingdom was about Vikings? Like, it's also very historically like accurate, I guess, in events and characters being real.
You're reminding me I need to read Vinland Saga.
Yeah, same.
You should.
I've had it on my to-read list for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
I read it like a decade ago, but not in a while. It's good. I need to reread it honestly, but because I haven't read it in years. But it's similar because like you look up the history and you see like, oh yeah, it's this character who does this thing and dies because all of these characters are dead because they existed in fucking 1800 years ago. Oh well, I guess Nunmanji's back. Did you want to say your overall thoughts on the arc?
This is the one arc I didn't have that many thoughts on, so.
Well, that's unfortunate. And then, of course, once you get into the next part where you do have more to say, you're going to be stuttering and cutting out again.
Da 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 da.
Okay, so did anyone else have any final thoughts? Because it was good. I liked it.
I guess me.
I guess I did. The flashback was neat. And obviously, it's building into future stuff that hasn't happened yet. Yeah. So yeah.
Wait, I just realized something. I made a connection. Okay, so you know how they were talking about that whole strategy versus instinct? Yeah. I think Ryoten's gonna become Shin's strategy while he's the instinct in there.
So I think
it's a setup for that.
It merges the two basically. So instead of either, it's both, which is I guess where Gokei kind of failed, where he was logic and then he was emotion. So he kind of like he didn't merge. He was like both extremes, perhaps. So okay, yeah, I guess we'll see how that develops. Good thought. So yeah, right after the assassin arc, we get like fucking what's his name? Ryo Fui.
Yeah.
Like he just fucking comes in and it's like, hey, you almost got assassinated. I did it. Just JK LOL. I'm like, holy fuck, this guy is an asshole.
Right, but I didn't even get to give my thoughts on the assassination arc. No.
Oh, did you not? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought I asked. Go ahead. I asked. Like, is everyone done?
I guess you didn't hear me because I did.
I guess I didn't.
Irrelevant.
Rip. The assassination arc definitely felt like the most straightforward arc that we've had this far. It's just very straight to the point. He's getting attacked by these assassins. I don't really have much to say on this one, actually. I think I have less to say about this one than any of the other ones. Not just because my throat hurts, but because I don't know. There were some cool fights, Kyokai's backstory I liked, kind of depressing a little bit. But I also kind of like how it explored her like fighting style and how she's literally just humming a dance every single time she's cutting people's heads off. Something about it just, I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Guess you could say she's heading in the right direction.
Oh, no. And then there was the final, like Nunmanji said, the final conversation with her and Ten. I don't know. I didn't have much to say other than, it builds on Ten becoming a strategist. Because she wants to be there with Shin. She wants to actually be useful to him in some way. Also, I just love the little moment with Kyokai and her her sister, the flashback, and where her sister goes on about how she wants to like feels a woman's touch, and it just shows Kyokai's really adorable reaction.
Oh shoot, blushes! Yeah, the blush, that was cute. Especially because she's so reserved normally, so seeing her like go so red like that, I was like, that's adorable.
I also found it kind of brutal how Kyokai just slaughters like the old grandmas after like all of the assassins had died. Yeah, like I wasn't expecting it. I just see one of them get her hands cut off, and I'm like, oh shit.
Ew, old people.
And then Kyokai's like, I killed all of them. I'm like,
lovely.
So yeah, there wasn't much for me to say. I liked it. It was a good arc.
Yeah, and it probably is going to be an important setup for Kyokai's future stuff. Francie, don't say anything.
Sorry, what?
I said that the flashback and stuff is going to be important for Kyokai's future stuff, and also don't say anything.
I've seen something.
My sister told me about Kyokai because it's her favorite character.
I'm not gonna say anything. Pablo will.
Well, I won't.
I feel like everyone might have seen it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to point it out.
I think I know what you're talking about too.
We still have a little bit more to go with the
training arc.
I was gonna say, though, I guess before that, because there's the other after end volume comic book with the servant girl and her friend sort of talking about everything, and like the other servant girl like, oh, Shin, noble girl and commoner boy, yeah, he's cool, and I'm like, oh my god. Because she's like, she hasn't even fucking met the main character, but she's in it, and I'm like, okay.
Ew, is that one of the peasants?
When y'all were talking about the old ladies or old people, I remembered that old lady that was talking to Real 10, I think in one of the extras.
Oh,
her saggy.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
And then she fell asleep.
They actually showed it too. They showed.
Oh my god! Why did you have to bring that up?
Old people are great.
I might have to
They're
put
full
a
of
picture.
wisdom and.
Why?
Do it.
No,
Do it.
God, you're ruining the first episode of my new podcast, and you're gonna get it fucking age restricted.
Old people.
I'll put a black bar on it. Don't worry.
Does that make it any better?
No, my main Abyss video got age restricted, and it also had a black bar, and it didn't work.
You know what? It's a sacrifice you have to take as our general.
Anyway, so I was already freaking out about Ryo Kai or Ryo Fui. Yeah.
Oh.
No, the dude who started
The
the assassination. Yeah. That dude.
Yeah, the Chancellor.
Yeah. Who came in and just like
he's so goddamn powerful. He can walk in, say he planned the assassination, and get away with it.
Fucking god.
And just
damn.
Power scaling is in this series, I tell you.
It just looked the smug ass face that he had the whole time. He just wanted somebody to like say something, but nobody could say anything to him because he's so powerful that like, what can you say to this guy? This guy literally just flat out came to the palace and just told everybody, "Hey guys, I tried to kill the king,"
And they can't do anything about it.
Like even like Shin, like he's typically like so impulsive, but he was like dead ass quiet throughout like the entirety of the conversation because he had nothing to say to him.
Well, because like they started off with like just his like fucking his chancellors and guys walking by, and they had so much their aura was so powerful. Like he was kind of cowed. Like Shin, the fucking bold, like doesn't shut the fuck up to anyone. Says whatever he wants to anyone, but no, he's got his limits.
He couldn't say anything to these guys. Like they scared him so much.
Oh man!
You get out of here, Shin. The big boys are talking.
It was a good way to like wrap it up because I was like, God damn, and building up to future like antagonists. I don't know. Don't say anything.
I'd be yeah.
Presumably. Ooh. Oh, and it was also kind of. I mean, I kind of expected it when she was going towards there because like they were building up to it being some kind of a surprise, but of course, 10 ends up with under like training as a strategist with Ryoku. So it's like, oh, okay, that's happening.
Is that some dramatic irony I hear?
I also just love the Kyokai's letter that she gave to the people that are going to be training 10. She'll say that she'll literally kill all of them if they don't train her, and she's like literally in the midst of like enemy ground.
410, like getting nice. So I guess, and then I also liked. I think I already talked about the Oki stuff a bit because it's just I was talking about him earlier, but it's just the good interactions with Shin, and then
the bath scene.
The bath scene.
We'll just follow him. Wait, how did we end up here? And then of course it ends with him like he's like, train me, okay, and he's like, no. And he just fucking like kicks him off a fucking cliff.
I'll only train you if you survive here for 3 months.
I think I actually like stopped. Like I was like, holy shit! Like just because it was so unexpected. Because
I also love how like Ueki's so powerful that he has his own city.
Yeah.
He's fucking.
Something I'd like to add is that sort of Ryofu, I think the Chancellor's
the Chancellor
group, like even says to himself like, yeah, there's no way we can beat this. All we can do is bide our time and wait. And this is some foreshadowing level BS that like I love it.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that.
I'm
now.
not even at the part where it gets resolved, and I still remember that exact scene
Okay.
where sort of their entire group walks away and everyone just stops, is in a cold sweat. Even Shin, the dumbass,
just scared shitless.
just scared complete shitless, as Ryofu simply says, "Oh yeah, I tried to I tried to assassinate the king." No, I'm kidding. It's good. And they
Fucking
still take him
asshole.
seriously.
So yeah, that was my overall thoughts on the post-assassination training build-up arc. Nunmanji?
I don't have much to say, but
yeah, it was pretty short.
Everyone going their separate paths. It's pretty nice. I just want to. I'm curious on how they're gonna get back together and what's gonna happen and such.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good cliffhanger.
It's a time skip.
Just to end off on.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was expecting, a time skip of a training arc time skip. Yeah.
We're gonna get.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be pretty boring if we got 50 chapters of just 10 learning strategy.
Well, I mean, honestly, if it would probably be interesting. It's just because, like, if the author decided to write it, then yeah, he probably made
honestly,
it
the series so popular. There's probably a spin-off manga about it.
Okay, how popular is it actually? I know it's well liked. Like on my list, it's like ranked like really high. Like
there's at least 2
manga.
spin-offs about characters that haven't been shown yet.
Kingdom was
Gotcha.
the third best-selling manga in like 2016 with like 5 million copies sold.
Damn.
What's funny too is that its popularity didn't even come from the anime. It came from this really popular like talk show in Japan. I think Hunter x Hunter got mentioned in it recently too.
I'm surprised at Kingdom's popularity because I'm pretty sure it came out in like
2009 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's really new.
Yeah, and it's like
is this like Seinen One Piece?
Oh,
whoa!
I mean, Hara did say that he wanted it to be 1,000 chapters, and it's currently at 560 something, I think.
To be fair, it kind of has to be.
Yeah, when you're talking about the unification, and you're talking about the unification of China, which didn't happen overnight.
It's not like Dynasty Warriors.
Man, I'm just imagining like Shin and say looking like adults, and it's like really weird to me.
But
like maybe it happens, but I don't know. Or it'll happen. There's still fucking 400 chapters to go apparently.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I just checked, and there is a Kingdom game that's kind of like Dynasty Warriors.
Oh no.
Yeah, actually, I mean, think about it. It basically is Dynasty. Like the mooks are nothing, but the generals are really strong. Yeah, it's basically Dynasty Warriors. Anyway, Francie, do you have thoughts on this arc or not?
Nothing that hasn't already been sort of said.
Okay, Winchester.
I like how the Rofu and the subordinates sort of tower over everybody else.
Or who everybody else? I didn't catch that. Discord.
Cut him out.
Blink twice if you can hear us.
Scream as loud as you can.
Hello.
There he is. Okay.
There he is.
That wasn't very loud. I need more.
No, it's okay. Yeah. Say that again. I didn't quite catch
There's a panel where Rofu and his subordinates tower over all of Ace's subordinates. Like they're so huge and
yes, overpowering. Right. It was good. Yeah, it's good. The art's good.
Yeah, and when they're leaving away, it sort of looks I kind of like this panel where they're leaving, and it's when they're leaving away, it sort of looks like they're dancing and leaving. I don't know. So and
did you have
and Mobu trying to reestablish the 6 general system was interesting.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that.
We just completely glossed over it.
Because I mean, it was a nice bit of world building, but and finding out Oki was one of them was like, oh shit. I mean, it makes sense. He's really strong, and yeah. Did you have anything to say about the 6 generals or anything else about the arc in general, Winchester? or
That's it.
okay. Pablo?
Nothing much that's already been said, but I do like how like even like the chancellor, like his like subordinates, like these just like these. It's just even his subordinates had like these auras that completely terrified everybody, not just Ryufun's. Or I don't even know if I said his name right there.
I think it's Ryufu the first. Like I think that's like the what the I at the end is because it's separated from the Fu. So I had to look at it a couple times. I said Ryufui earlier, but I'm like, wait a minute.
I also like how like even his like subordinates are like completely terrifying and have like these massive auras, like aside from like Ryufun himself.
And there's definitely a couple of them, like the old man who stand out on their own, and like I can see how they might be relevant in the future, you know. Or I can see just by their design, like this guy seems important.
Old people, my worst nightmare.
Okay. Was that everything, or
yeah.
Yeah, you can go.
I was talking about Rankai earlier. Yeah, and he does appear at the end of those comic strips at the end of the volume. So, how he goes to work under Yotanwa.
Oh yeah, you mean the monster guy who was with Seikyo?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he's with the Mountain Men now, and there's
like
the one of the queen on the horse riding away, and then it's repeated with her on the big guy,
the big boy.
Yeah, so Rankai, yes. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. So were you done, Pablo?
I don't really have much else to say though. However, I do kind of like the small gag where when Ten's in she's in the strategy room playing that board game, and she moves. I think and then she moves a piece and just beats these two guys in like a second. Just kind of.
Yes, I was. That's why earlier when I said like if the author did 50 chapters of strategy, like I'd imagine it'd be good just because that like one bit made me like interested to see more in depth of what was happening with her strategy training. But I don't think we're gonna get that, but it would have been neat because the strategies are cool and stuff. You know,
she just I just loved how she just casually just moved the piece and just beat these two other guys like nothing. It was just funny, but
my question is, do they say King Me or General Me?
Oh.
I will end you.
All I know is no gag will ever beat Saggy Titty Lady. That's all.
Oh God.
She's the best character in the whole show. Her power level must be over 10,000.
Yeah, but I have nothing else to say. The arc is pretty much everything's been said already about it.
Yeah, it was pretty short. So yeah, I guess we're about done with the discussion. Unless Nunmanji, did you have anything you wanted to say that when you were missed out due to your connection?
I don't even remember anymore. But I do have something to say about the 7 general system. Is this what it's called? I think.
Or the 6 generals?
I think that it'll be interesting to see if Issei, what kind of decision he makes on that, because that seems like it would be the fastest way to unite all of China, since it's, like 6 generals that are free to wage war and take over different places. I don't know. That seems like it'll definitely come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd be curious to see who the 6 generals would be. Or I'm also wondering if like Oki is the only of the former 6 generals around, if there's more. Maybe they'll come back.
I found it interesting that Duke Hyo wasn't a part of them, to be honest.
Yeah, because he seemed old. Duke Hyo, because he seemed older. Like he's got gray hair.
So I was like expecting him to be a part of the 6 generals, but I remember when it showed like the flashback of the 6 generals, he wasn't there. I'm like, I guess he's not.
Yeah, and I realized like looking through again that you can see Oki in the back, turned away, because obviously the audience wouldn't recognize him there.
Just a big hulking man with that tiny little hat on his head.
I hope our favorite programmer gets in on Kingdom so he can power scale the generals.
Oh no!
The generals.
No. Okay, I'm pulling the plug. The podcast is over forever. Episode 1. This is the
episode
final episode.
1 has been power scaled.
Thank you for ruining it, Nunmanji.
Ultra Instinct Goku is stronger than you think because of Uki.
Uki is stronger than Ultra Instinct Goku.
Uki is stronger than you think.
So yeah, everyone has given their thoughts on the stretch chapters. Winchester,
Yep.
Francie,
Yeah, just
Pablo?
about.
All right, cool. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully Nunmanji won't be dead next time. Half
Sad.
dead. Sad. So yeah, thank you for joining us and good discussion. Be sure to keep listening and keep reading along, everyone. Listeners too. Maybe you can join in. So yeah, see you next time. And next time, I think I mentioned it earlier, but it was Kingdom 108 to 244, 234,
230.
something around that.
Oh, yeah.
34.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a number.
You can find it on the Discord server. So yeah, thank you for listening, and see you next time.
Next month.
Oh.
Yes, next time, which is next month.